All right, everybody. This is going to be a quick video over the various types of queries we're going to see. Now, in Chapter 1, we learned how to build databases. We learned all the data types, all the rules and things that go with that. We've got, of course, all the different types, primary key, foreign key, how these things connect together, and how to use, some basic queries and forms and stuff. Now, the basic query is usually done using what's called the query wizard. Let's see if I can't adjust this a little bit for people to see a little bit better. We'll go with this. Here we go. Now, so we take a quick look. We would go to create, and then we have this query wizard and query design. Query wizard makes just like the report wizard, gives you this little option you pick. You move things over and it makes a quick little query. Now, once you make a query, this one here, we can go to the design view, which is again under view, datasheet design, and you can actually add more things to it if you want to. But we can skip all that going back and forth if we just go to query design instead of query wizard. So I'm going to show you a couple of different things you're going to see, how to interpret what you're reading in the book when they're telling you to do specific things. We'll just cover kind of the gambit of things here. So first off, I've got two tables in this database. I hit query design, and we'll see basically this. Now, your windows may look a little different than mine. It may be kind of in the middle. You can add tables to it. If you don't see that, you can right click and say show table, and you'll get something that looks like that. Now, I can look for queries, I can look for tables. Generally, I'm going to want a table. So I'm going to click this first one here just to show you. Boop. And if you accidentally click it twice, you can right click on it and remove it. If I click the other one, you'll note that there's this little line here. If you remember, we're talking about foreign keys. A foreign key is a primary key in another table. So you'll see that I've got a primary key here. It's got the little key symbol. And it's also here. It's spelled the exact same. It is the exact same data type. This is what makes this a foreign key. It sees that it's here, it sees that it's here, and it makes the connection. And that's going to be very important when we're doing some of these queries. I'm just going to remove you for now. So let's say the query. Let's go ahead and just add the client. It'll be simpler that way. There we go. And I can readjust this so I can see everything. Just grab it like that. Now, if you screw up the query, that's fine. Just, close it. It goes away. Do it again. Like so. It's very difficult to mess things up here. Now, the first problem some people have, you may see like a picture of what the query should look like or something like that. I usually give you those. And they'll go to the table and start deleting things. I've had someone do this on a test once. They went in and, oh, this is what the query should look like, and they just started removing things from the table. Now, the problem with that is you're not supposed to touch the tables. For the query chapter, unless told to add or subtract things, you leave the tables alone. You're just making queries. You're just searching those tables that are already there. Anybody who's paying a bill, anybody that's looking up some information on you, it would typically be searching a database, and that's what a query is. We're filtering out things and searching. So one of the first things you might see is they might say, they'll tell you to show certain fields. So they'll say show the client number, client name, city and state from the client table, or for all clients. They'll use the word client, either from the client table or for all clients, which is what we got here. Now I can click down here and click the little drop down and select, or I can double click up here and add them like that. If I didn't mean to add something, well, I can change it. Let's go with amount paid, for example. Let's go amount paid current due. Have some money here. If I don't want this to be here at all, I can just click until I see this little black arrow right above it, and you can just press delete. It'll go away. You can probably right click and cut it as well if you wanted to. And then you can just bring it back if need be. Current due. So this particular query said, I want to see the client number, client name, amount paid, current due of the clients table, or for all clients, this is what we would show. Now, if it didn't specify anything else, I would just hit run. There it is. Now, it's not saved yet, and notice nothing's filtered out. If I want to save it, I can right-click and save. It'll ask me for a name. I'll just say query 1. Just leave it like that. And as soon as I hit OK, it gets added to my list over here. I can open it up anytime, and whatever's in the database will get displayed here, these things here. So if I go and add some things or delete some things from the table, the query itself will change. Now, if the question was show the client number, client name, amount paid, current due, and you see the word where the current due is this. Well, if they say where the current due is 0, for example, then you'll see there's field, the table it comes from. We can sort it, which we'll get to later. We can actually show things or unshow them, which is important for a little bit later. But criteria is where I'm going to want to go. Now, if it says, where the current due is 0, just put in a 0. You don't need to put dollar signs or anything. Just put in a 0, and it will filter everything out. So this would be client number, client name, amount paid, current due, where the current due is 0. And when they're asking for specifics, that's pretty easy. You just put in the specific number. If they want a range, then I can use greater than, less than, those symbols. I can use greater than or equal to. So if I say greater than, let's say 0, that means anything other than 0 is going to show up. Now if I say greater than or equal to 0, that means 0 is going to be included in that tally. Now, another phrase you might see is between. They might say, show these fields where the current due is between, let's just go with 0 and 1,000, maybe. So I can use the keyword between 0 and 1,000. And lo and behold, you'll get everything between 0 and 1,000. Now, that also includes 0 and 1,000. Now, there's one other way you can actually write this. I could do the exact same thing. I can say greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 1,000. And those two statements are exactly the same. You'll see, I get the exact same thing. So either way, this works. Now, you may also see keywords like this and that. Let's say I'm looking for a record with a specific client number, like this, BA53 or something. If it says, I want to see, the client number, client name, amount paid, current due for client number BA53, then I would just specifically put that in there. We come back and you see it filters everything else out but that. And you come back, it's got some quotation marks because it's a text. Now, what if I said I wanted it to, let's say, be a specific number, or maybe some other number. I give it two different numbers, BA53 or BB32. So I can go to criteria, BB, was it 53, 54, 53. Doot. Well, I guess I got to check that again. Let's go back. Oh, BA53 and BB32. So I can say this, or BB32. Notice there's the word or, and I'll get either or. Now I can also do this, or, and it will still work the same. You can either use this, or you can actually write the word or. Now if I say or, it's going to be this or this. That means you're going to get both of those. Now another keyword you may see is and. Now I can't really use the word and here. It's not generally used because if I say and, it means it has to be both of these. And it can't be both of these at the same time. Usually what you see when you're looking for a query and it says and, it would be like, let's find something a little bit extra here. Business analyst number. All right. So let's say I'm looking for anyone who has a current due less than 1,000. And I also want a specific analyst number, let's say 11. So you'll see, list client number, client name, amount paid, current due. Maybe they'll say business analyst as well. Where, and that's the keyword there, where current due is less than 1,000, right? But they might say, and the business analyst is 11, or with the business analyst being 11, something along the lines of that. You'll see both of those. Now, if I put them on the same line, this is the same as saying this and that. So we come back, and you'll see I've got the 3 11s, and I've got 3 here that are less than 1,000. Now, I didn't say less than or equal to 1,000. If I add that equal sign, I'll see, well, I won't see an extra because I don't have 1,000 there. That is also 11, but if I did, I would see that. Now, if I adjust this and I move it down 1, then it's the same thing as saying if it's less than 1,000 or if business analyst is 11. So I'm going to see, there we go. My mic cuts off after like 15 minutes. Well, anyway, with this, I will see a whole lot more items. You'll see I've got 5 11s and a 14. Now that's not 11, right? But the current due is less than 1,000. So, voila. And again, if I throw in less than or equal to, in this instance, I get this extra guy here because he is less than or equal to 1,000. But this is an or, so either 11 or less than 1,000. If I said and, I would move this back up and put it here. Now, if I said all this, I might say show client number, client name, amount paid, current due, where current due is less than or equal to 1,000 and the business analyst is 11, or the business analyst is 11. But notice when I said show, I did not include business analyst number. You actually don't have to show it. You can uncheck the box here. And you can still use it for a query. And this confuses some people when it says show these 4 fields where the business analyst is 11, but it didn't say show that. If you see the name of the field there and it doesn't say show, that just means add it and uncheck the box. Pretty straightforward. Now, that gets us through most of the mathy stuff. Let's get to some of the words and letters and that sort of thing. Now I've got several clients in my little list here in this example that I'm showing you. And should I want to, search for a particular thing, let's say Bavant Animal Hospital, I can come down here and just say, all right, client name. Now if I just typed in Bavant, what would be your guess that I would see? Most people will guess, oh, well, you'll see the Bavant Hospital, but that's actually not the case. You'll see nothing, because this is looking for an exact match. If I just write in the word, it's looking for exactly that, and there isn't Bavant by itself. There's Bavant Animal Hospital, and if I write that in, I'll see it. But let's say, I don't quite know how to spell it properly. I know it's B-A. So we can actually use some shortcuts there to kind of cut that down a little bit. I can say B-A star. And what this means is basically it's going to start with the letters B-A and anything can come after it. The star means anything can come after it. So if I come in here and I just hit that, you'll see I've got two that started with B-A. Now, there's the Bavant Hospital, but there's also Babbage CPA firm in this example. So, and when I come back, you'll see it says like BA. That's just their query language. You can leave it as it is if it looks right, or just erase it and do it again if it doesn't. Now, if I were to say, let's take a quick look here. All right, let's say I put a star in the front, and I put in hospital. The star means anything, and the position matters. So if I put it in the front, that means anything can be in the front, but it has to end with the word hospital, which there are two, like so. So you can actually use the stars as kind of wildcards to fill in stuff you're not sure about. Now if I put a star, let's just say A and star, for example, I would get probably pretty much everything. Basically that just says if there's an A in there somewhere. Because a star doesn't have to be anything, it can be nothing. Or it could be, all the letters in the alphabet. As long as there's an A in there, star A star would work. Now if I said I wanted it to end in street or something like that, then, I would say star street. If I wanted it to begin with a certain number, 283 star. That's how you would do that. It just depends on where that little star is. If it's at the end, I want it to begin with this. If it's at the end, or rather, if the star is at the end, I want it to begin with it. If the star is the beginning, I want it to end in whatever I've written there. All right, that gets us through some of the numbers, some of the text. Now there is one other thing. Let's go ahead and close you. Check out my tables here real quick. We'll go ahead and just quickly erase something here real quick. Let's erase this North Carolina. All right, we're just going to leave it blank. Now, you cannot erase primary keys. It's going to complain if I do that. But technically, you can leave other things blank if you really wanted to. You shouldn't, but you can. So if I go to my query, and I'm looking for the state along with this, I can go back to the design view. I can add the state at the end. Let's go ahead and remove you. There's your date. Oh, I'm going to the wrong query. Let's do that. There we go. There we go. That's better. So I'm just going to remove you and add state to the end. Now, if I load up the state, you'll see everything's listed, and that state is blank. Now, if I wanted it to be completely blank, I just wanted to see the blank ones because I know I messed up somewhere, I can type in the keyword null, like so. And I can just hit view and it will display anything that's blank. Now I can also write in the word, and it'll say is null when you come back. I can say not star. Star means anything can come in there. Not star means nothing. So it's the same as writing null. So those are two examples of how you can kind of do that. Now on that, note, the not, for example, we can go in here and say not. And that just means anything that does not match this. So if I were to say not BA 53 or whatever, I come back, anything that doesn't match that is going to, show up. So if I leave just the word in there, you'll see Bavant Animal Hospital. But if I say not that, then you'll see everything else that is not that. That's what that means. So if the directions tell you to, display the client number, client name, amount paid, current due, where the client number is not this, then that's how you would do that with that not. All right, that just leaves us a couple of little things to finish up here. That is most of what we need. Oh, and I've also got on Canvas itself a couple of little items like the query cheat sheet I should remind you of. Let's see here. At least it should be posted. I'll make sure. There we go. Ba-bum. Publish. If it's not already posted, it will be. But the query cheat sheet is quite simply a lot of what I've gone over already. The B star stuff, star B, not, the null, the greater than, equal to, less than, the between. And our next topic, which is the calculations. There are two things we're going to be doing next. One is the calculations, and one is getting totals, sums, averages, and stuff like that. So let's see how that rolls around. So I've got two numbers here. Move that guy. Amount paid, current due. Don't have any other criteria. And you'll see I've got some numbers. And it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to use them for this example. Let's say I want to do some sort of calculation where I have the amount paid and I have the current due, and I decide to add these together, or do some multiplication, math, it doesn't really matter. Well, I can go to this design view and I can do that here. Now you can actually write what you need to write in this little box, but it's kind of small and cramped. You could also right click when you're on this extra box. Now this isn't going to go down here. This is the common error. People will put them in the criteria. But when you're doing a calculation where it says, show me the client number, client name, amount paid, current due, where the total of amount paid and current, with a total or something like that of amount paid, current due. So I want to add these two together. So I'm going to just go on this blank spot, right click, and zoom. And what this is going to do is just open up a box. It's basically this box, it's just bigger, so I can see what's going on. And what a calculation is it'll have the name first of whatever this field's going to be called, and then whatever math you want to do. If I want to add two fields or multiply or subtract. So if I come back to my database and let's say I want to take these two. I'm going to call this just total. And I'm going to say, and this is a box, amount paid, and I close the box. This is important because I'm basically telling it, I want this field. And I say plus. I make a little box, and I want current due. Current due. Now, that's all I got to put in there. This is going to basically, when I run this, take these two numbers, add them together, and put them in a column called total. Whatever I change this name to is what the name of the column is going to be. I hit OK, see it just pops in down there. We take a quick run and see, and 1500 plus 500 is 2000. Basically, you can do some simple math. Now, Excel is really the calculator of all the Microsoft applications, but Access is more of a search, store information, but it can do some simple calculations when needed. Figuring out how much worth your inventory is, how much people owe you after they paid. You could do several things in these queries. Figure out who owes me money. Now, some of the common errors you'll see is, let's say I go in here and I misspell something. It has to be spelled right. If I run it, you'll see this pops up. Amount pad, enter parameter value. It's not sure what that is because it's supposed to be amount paid. Another common error people end up running into is they might spell them right, but they forget that you have to have a box around both of those words there. So when they run it, they'll get this, amount paid plus current due. And if you see this pop up like that, that means they think you want to type something in, or you messed up somewhere, more than likely. So in this case, I gotta have a little box, not the brace, the curly brace, or bracket, but this guy. Now I hit OK, I did it right. It's gonna show up over here. Now, there is one other way we can kind of use this, and that is actually down here in criteria. Let's say, I don't want to have to type in a particular client number every single time I do this, right? I can use basically the same mechanism here. I can put a little box, and I can say enter client number box in the criteria. And what this is going to see is, first it's going to look and see if that's a field. It's not. So it's going to pop up a box. And, I type in BA54. I hit OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to plug whatever I type in into the criteria. So I type in BA54 and I don't get anything because obviously I didn't type it correctly. The client number is not BA54, but we'll just peek over here. It's BA53 because I'm dumb. So we'll try that one more time. BA53. And voila, I can run it again. Run, or just hit view. BB32. And I get that one. So this allows you to basically not have to go in here and just change this every single time. You can just run it. Right click, run. Or open. Just boom, run. It goes BB53 and, oh wait, BA53. BA53. And it pops it up. So the two ways you can kind of use these little squares here. One, in criteria, if you wanted to, like, let's say, type in a client number every single time. And the way the book would phrase that is they would say, display these fields from the client table or for all clients, where you can enter a different client number every time. They might say something along the lines of that, or enter a parameter query is what this is called. Now, whatever I put in this box, Skittles is what's going to appear when I run this, which is why I put in, enter client number. You'll see enter client number. Now, the common mistake would be someone comes in here and just says client number. But the problem with this is client number is a field. So if I run this, it's just going to plug in all the client numbers, and you'll see basically nothing. So you generally have to have the enter client number in front of it. And that's your calculations. So the last little bit that you'll see, so we made it through that little bit, is the totals and property sheet. I guess we'll touch over that real quick before we get to that. There is a property sheet up here. And if I click on any of these fields, I can change the caption of that field. So a lot of people will come in here and try to rename this. No. If they ask you to, do a query but change the caption of something, you simply just bring up the property sheet. And whatever field I click on, let's say I go to client name and I just call them dummies in the caption. When I run this query, you'll see dummies there. Now, that does not change the table itself, it's client name. It just changed the caption for this particular query. So it's useful because if I change the actual name of the field, I could break every other query that everybody else is doing. But if I want to refer to it as something different, I can by going to the captions. Now, if I were to come up here and click in the center, it's going to give me the property sheet for the whole query itself. Now I can come over here and you see there is a couple of little options here. There is top values, which means I can display the top 5 of something. So I run, and it's only going to give me the top 5 answers. Now if I sort this by sort in ascending order, which is generally what it is set for already, I'll get that. If I sort it in descending order, and you can do this for any of these, you'll see it's backwards, and I'm getting only 5. Now you can change the value. It's also up here, return, 25, 25, a percentage. I can write in my own number, 11, and it'll give me the top 11 items in this. Now you can sort multiple things at a time. I can sort by client number, and then I can sort by amount paid. And if I run this, you'll see I've got my client number here, and then I got my amount paid. And it doesn't really look like much because, let me go ahead and add in Business Analyst. Generally what you're going to want to do is sort it by, let's say, Business Analyst and amount paid. So if I take a look, now it's going to sort the first one first, and then it'll try to sort the second one next. And this doesn't work very well because of the order. Business Analyst, if I click on it like this, I can actually drag and move it. So you just wait for that black arrow, click it once, and then just click on it again and hold, and you can move these back and forth. Now, if Business Analyst is first in this little order, watch what happens. 11s, 14s, 27s. Let's take a look at the 11s. Look over here. My amount paid, I was also sorting. Sorted. But then all of a sudden I'm back down again. But the reason I'm back down is because these are the 14s. So basically, if you sort two things, you can't really sort more than 2 for the most part, it'll sort the first one first, and then inside this, it'll sort the second one. So you'll see the 11s are all there. They're the first, and the amount paid sorted inside those 11s. Same is true for the 14s. Now, let's say I add another table. Show table. I add the Business Analyst table. Now, since I have a foreign key here that connects, there we go, I can add something over here. Let's say first name, last name. And we'll just get rid of a couple of items. No, we'll leave it as it is. It's fine. Now, since I have these two in this line, I can come here and be like, boop. There's the last name, first name of this particular business analyst. Cordelia Carey. Manuel Martinez, Jan Lu. So you'll see when I do it this way, I'm doing what's called a, darn it, my brain's not functioning for the moment. Join query, there it is. When they say make a join query between the client table and the business analyst table, this is what they mean. Just basically add both tables. As long as you have a line, they're joined. And they're joined based on that business analyst number. Now, typically this type of question would say, show business analyst number, client name, amount paid, current due from the client table, and, last name, first name from the business analyst table. Or it might be phrased slightly differently. Usually they'll say create a join query between these two, and show the client number, client name, amount paid of all clients, and the last name, first name of the business analyst. It might be some phrasing along the lines of that. But those usually specify which field should come from which table. Now, if I click on this line, and I get, this slight property sheet over here, but if I double click it, I get this extra little option. Now, I'm going to have to go and edit my table real quick. Let's go to my client table. Or better yet, let's see, is there a business analyst that is not being used? Let's see, 35 maybe? I may not have to fix anything. Yes. All right, so 35s actually, they have no customers. They have no clients. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my query, and I'm going to double click on this line. Now, when I run this, take a look, and do you happen to see there's only 3 people? But in Business Analyst, there are 4 of them. There is Jeff Scott. He is not being listed. And the reason for that is this. Notice this is the join properties. And what you see here is, my stuff's popping up. All right, there we go. I have 3 options. Now, you won't have to mess with anything at the top. But at the bottom, you'll see 1. Only include rows where join fields from both tables are equal. Now, what a join query does is it takes things from this, and it lines them up, basically. It'll line them up just like that and merge these 2 things together. And it will show whatever is here that connects to there. So what we're seeing is everything that connects from one table to the other. Now the problem with our Jeff Scott is he has no clients. He is only in one table, so he doesn't connect. So one of the questions may tell you to, show all this, and they might say, even with clients who don't have, or business analysts who don't have a client. If you see something along the lines of that, show all business analysts even if they don't have a client, they're asking you to adjust the join properties. So the first option is include all clients. And only those from business analysts that connect, basically. And the second option is include all business analysts. Now, which table has the one I need? The business analyst. So I want to include all business analysts because that's what the dude is. If I change it to number 3 and I hit OK, you'll see when I hit it, boom, I get Jeff Scott. And of course, he doesn't have any clients or anything to speak of, but he's there. We go back. Click in the center again, and you see I get my whole property sheet. Now, I'm going to change this query real quick. Let's go ahead and just remove you to show you one last thing, and then we're pretty much set. That's pretty much most of what you'll see for this chapter. So, let's say I want to display, let's go ahead and just remove you guys. There we go. Let's just list the business analyst numbers. We'll just leave it very simple here. And actually, no, there's one other thing to show you after this. But business analyst, if I hit it, you'll see I've got 11s, 14s, 27s, a whole bunch of them, right? Now, if I click in the center, there is an option over here, not just top values, and I can zero that back out again to all. But there's also unique values, and you see it's set to no. Now, if I leave this as it is and I run it, you'll see I see a whole bunch of 11s, 14s, 27s. But I can also click in the center, open up the property sheet, and we can come over here and say unique values, yes. And what that does is this. If there's a duplicate, it won't count it. It won't show it. So if I have 15 11s and 32 14s, it's only going to show 1. So that's pretty useful if you just want to get a list of your business analysts from that table. But they're in there a bunch of different times because they have all the clients. So that's typically where that goes. Top values show a certain number. Unique records or rather unique values, is used when you have a whole bunch of redundant ones and you only want to see one of them. And that's typically how it would be worded too. Show us, the number of business analysts, but only show one, or something like that. Now, last but not least is the totals button. So I'm just going to add in, let's go business analyst number and current due. Now these two, if I just run it, you'll see I've got all my analysts, all my current dues over here. I'll go back. Now if I were to come, let's say, you see how I've got sort, I can sort these, I can have criteria, but there's this totals button up here. When I click it, watch what happens down here. I get this new thing that pops up. Goes away, pops up. And I get this thing called group by. Now group by is used on numbers solely. I can't really use it on the business analyst because if it's set to a string or a text or something, then it's not going to work on that. This only works on numbers. Now if I click this, you'll see I've got a couple of things: sum, average, min, max, count, a couple other things here. But if I were to hit sum right here in this total and run it, watch what happens. Boom, I get 11, 14, 27. And notice what this says. I can make that a little bigger so you can see it. Sum of current due. 14,000, 9,000, 10,000. What this does is it's going to take all my business analysts that are 11, total them up. All my business analysts that are 14, total them up. And all the 27s and total them up as well. So if I were to go to average, then it would give me the average of each of those. If I were to turn it off and just set it back to group by, you'll see all of them pop up there. So if I wanted, in this case, I said, give me the sum of current due for each business analyst. That's what this would be. And you typically just kind of have to break it into parts. All right, it said, I want the sum of the current due for each business analyst. That tells you I need current due, I need business analyst. And I need the sum, so I'm going to need that total. Now, this can be confusing because we did like the total calculation-wise before, but on the calculation, they usually give you, like something like this. We want this times this or this plus that. This is used very specifically for, when I want to get the sum and average or something, usually. Those are the two that are majorly used. Or I could get a count, which tells me how many of those records are there, basically. But if you see, I need the sum of current due for each business analyst, that's what this would be. Now, if I just said sum of current due, then I would just have one field. The thing about the totals is you're only going to have one field or two. That's it. You can't have more for this to work. If I get the sum of the totals, that's the sum of everything. If I add in my business analyst again, now let's say I just type in 11 in my criteria. What do you think I would see? Well, I got the sum of the current due for the business analyst, 11. So I only get the 11 in that total. So there we go. Current due, business analyst. And this actually runs through the gambit of everything we need to do pretty much. Now, if I try to do the sum on this one too, you're going to see it's going to give me kind of an error here because that's not a number. So I can really only do this with one. Now, if I did, let's say, not current due, but amount paid, and I tried to do the sum of that as well, I can do that, the sum of both, if there's two numbers. But generally, if there's one that's going to be business analyst or a word or a vendor or something, then you're going to group the number. That's kind of a shorthand whenever you're putting these things together. First, break it into parts. Well, it said business analyst, it said current due. I need those two. Add them. I need the sum of current due. Well, pull that up, make sure it's the sum. And there you go. Oh, and I guess there is one more query that you occasionally see. It's like once or twice in this chapter, but I should go over it because it does give people issues. And that is not Query Wizard or Query Design, but something called a Crosstab Query. And you get that by going to Wizard, the Query Wizard, and you'll see Crosstab. I hit OK. And here's how this works. I'm going to select the client. And I'm going to hit Next. Notice there's a little sample here at the bottom here. So I'm just going to pick my table. Boop. Now, what it asks for is, the very first question here is asking what field is going to go here, and basically that's this field in the left. So if I were to put in, let's say, business analyst number, you see it fills it in on the left there. I'm only going to put one field into each one of these things. The common error is people, start throwing in 3 or 4 things here, and that's not what this is about. Crosstab query will tell you, I want the total of amount paid. Total amount paid for business analyst and, client number or something like that. So I'll hit next. And it'll usually show you a picture of what it should kind of look like as well. So business analyst goes on the left, client number goes to the top, or whatever else I need at the top. And in the middle, I'm going to choose amount paid. And notice that I get average, count, max, min, sum. If it said one of the total amount paid on a Crosstab query between business analyst, client number, then I would select this. If I wanted the average, then I would select the average. So I'm going to hit one at a time. I'll hit next, and it'll ask me to name it. I'll finish it. This is what the Crosstab query would kind of look like. I'll get the total for 11, and notice I see each and every single one of my clients, and the ones that are with me are listed, and then I get their total. 14, I get the total, and also each and every single one of their clients. Now this is useful, I guess, in real life if you were trying to figure out, who is making you the most money. Where is that money coming from? Who's giving you huge amounts of revenue or something, perhaps? Looks like this guy's killing it. Number 14. Who are you, number 14? You deserve a raise. There we go. Number 14 is Manuel. Well, there you go. I believe that should be everything. Yes, that is pretty much everything. And of course, if they ask you to do a report or anything like that, just like in the first chapter, you can just highlight and hit report. Or you can go to report wizard if you prefer, and you can select a query, move the things over you need. There are 2 ways to do it. Now, if you just hit report, it'll give you everything, but if you don't want something, you can just simply, right click, delete column. And you can take the things off that you don't need. If you just hit delete, it'll delete that one thing instead of the column. So you have to do delete column to remove the whole thing. And then you can save it. Now if you mess up and didn't do something correct, just close it, create it again. Pretty simple, straightforward. Well, anyway, that is your run through of all the queries and everything you're going to see. So hopefully that clears some things up if you have any. As I was saying before it paused on me, if you have any questions or anything, let me know. Hopefully that clears up things. If not, well, ask and I'll do what I can.